Hey everybody, this is Heidi, and you're listening to the Successful Fashion Designer Podcast. We all know that the fashion industry is brutally competitive and it takes loads of hard work to get ahead. The problem is that everyone's secretive and tight-lipped about their ways. After working as a designer and educator for over a decade, I wanted to help break down those barriers and bring you valuable knowledge from industry experts, and this show is exactly where you'll find that. Whether you're trying to break into the fashion world, make yourself more marketable, launch your own label, or become a successful freelancer, we'll help you get ahead in the cutthroat fashion industry. This is episode 12 of the Successful Fashion Designer Podcast, and I'm your host, Heidi, also known as So Heidi. Today I'm chatting with Colleen Monroe, founder of Untucked Workwear, clothes designed for women who embrace a lifestyle filled with gumption and a whole lot of go. After a year and a half of hard work, Colleen launched a successful Kickstarter to fund the first round of production of her three-piece collection. In the interview, she talks about how to build an email list and an audience before you even have a product, why fit is one of the most important factors to your success, how to deal with the financial realities of launching a label, and the importance of engaging with your customer.
I think bringing people into the history of the making of your product is important because they really appreciate like where you've come from step A to step Z.
Before we jump into the interview, I want to remind you you can help the show out and make it easier for others to discover by leaving a review on iTunes. If you enjoy the episode, I'd really appreciate it if you take 60 seconds to do that. Visit sfdnetwork.com/review to leave your rating, and thanks for your support and help. To access the show notes for today's episode, visit sfdnetwork.com/12. Now on to the interview with Colleen. And I feel like I have to paint a picture of where we're sitting right now. Yeah. This is amazing. Okay, so we came to meet at, is it Cafe Bene?
Cafe Bene,
okay.
Yeah, in Koreatown.
Yes, in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And it was a bit noisy in there. And the quiet space upstairs that we planned on chatting was a really quiet place, like a library.
Everyone's like studying.
And we went up there to have a really chatty podcast interview.
Yeah. And everyone just like looked up from their books and stared at us like.
So we're in this courtyard, basically where the back of restaurants all back up to, and there's some ambiance in the background, and that's okay. That's perfect, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Colleen, introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah. So I'm Colleen Monroe, and I live here in Los Angeles, and I'm the designer of a new conscious clothing company called Untucked Workwear, and I'm designing workwear for women on the go. So basically that means I'm launching my first three pieces of my collection. I've dubbed it the perfect working outfit for women on the go, and it makes up a pair of pants called flex trousers, a jacket called a pocketed smock that can be a cover-up but also like a professional coat, and an everyday blouse that is made from tencel and super comfy and versatile.
And can I spoil a really big surprise? Because I peeked at your Kickstarter this morning and you met your goal.
Yeah,
you passed it.
I passed
and you still have like, how much time to go?
I have 2 weeks.
And you killed it.
In like a week, I was really shocked. Everyone has been so supportive.
Okay, so hold on, we have to stop. Like, huge congratulations.
Thank you.
Just like blew your Kickstarter out of the water.
Thank
and
you.
I want to hear about like how that all got started, and you're like in the middle of it, but you passed it, so you've like made it past the finish line. Okay, so you have your collection, and how'd you get from there to Kickstarter? I want to hear about your journey.
So we have to back up like a year and a half ago.
Okay.
I was working in costume design in film and TV here in New York and LA, and I was actually planning on going to grad school for costume design. And a friend of mine, it's always been on my heart to work in some capacity in the fashion industry, but more on the sustainable fashion side.
Okay.
I didn't quite know what that looked like. I've always loved to design, but I didn't quite know how to start. And a friend of mine passed along the name of this gal called Shannon Whitehead. She was in her second or third year starting this fashion accelerator for sustainable fashion designers. So extremely niche. And as soon as I read about it, I was like, I need to do this. So I kind of put grad school on hold, and I kind of pulled out of costume design a bit to see what this program was all about. And so basically it helps you launch your company from idea to creation.
Okay.
And so I decided to do that back in like fall of 2015, like fall of 2015.
So what's that, like a year and a half ago? 2.5 years ago?
So no, about a year and a half ago.
Year and a half.
So about fall of 2015 I started, October 2015. Did that program for the next 6 months. I took a full-time job, and I was like really committed to this. I sold my car so I could fund the startup costs, and just kind of took the plunge. And so after 6 months, I kind of was taking a bunch of courses. They were all online courses. I was getting a phone mentorship with Shannon and some of the other classmates in my class, who were all around the country, and just kind of learned the business of fashion, but also from the sustainable perspective of fashion, and how to go about sourcing. And I had a little bit of background just from costume design. I knew how to source and knew how to design, and but it definitely gave me more the business savvy that I needed, and the marketing. So So after about 6 months, I was like, okay, I'm ready to start like telling people about this. I don't have a product yet, which was super scary to tell people that. You're like, yeah, I have this idea and I'm gonna start, because a lot of people just laugh at you and they're like, yeah, sure.
Did you have the idea of like what your product was gonna be yet?
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to do women's workwear. And because for me, there was corporate workwear and then there was like jeans. So for me, I was like, what? Because here's the thing, it's like my type of work, I work as a freelancer, and a lot of times I'm using my hands. Like I also work as a florist too. So I kind of live this hybrid work life where I'm going from an office to sometimes a client meeting to sometimes like a flower studio or to the flower market. And so my days kind of blend between working with my hands and on my feet to sometimes working in an office and being sedentary, or meeting with the clients where I have to step it up a notch. And I never found corporate clothing to really be something that I liked. I just, pencil skirts just weren't practical for me when I'm like riding the subway in New York.
Right.
And biking to work, frankly. And the startup culture is kind of the culture I've been a part of for a while. I've always been very entrepreneurial minded, and we're just a very more casual type of culture. And there's a lot of people who wear jeans, and that's great, and I wear jeans, but I was like, well, what is something that could be a blend between like the jean and like the corporate workwear?
Right,
and what could I create? That middle ground, because like we have this with more and more women entrepreneurs, more and more people starting their companies, this whole startup culture, co-working spaces, it's creating this new type of work culture. And I feel like our wardrobes have to change to adapt to that. And so that is what started the idea for Untucked Workwear.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so you had this idea that you wanted to do something, and you went through the 6-month program with Shannon at Factory 45, and you're like, I had this idea to make this middle ground of apparel.
Yeah.
And so then where'd you go from there?
So I created, one of the things that we learn in Shannon's class, and something that, to do something before you even have a product, is to tell people about it to build momentum leading up to your launch.
Okay.
So I created a basic like landing page website for my products, and basically just put out the bare minimum of like, hey, here's what I'm doing and here's what I'm creative. If you want to be part of my design journey, I'll update you every month.
But you don't have any pictures, no product,
have any pictures
no sketches,
or anything
no nothing.
yet.
You're just like, I'm building this
This
something.
is what I'm starting.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so this is what I'm starting. I started with like an Instagram account and this landing page, and then people just knew me. And so I just sent out a huge email to like all my friends and family and professional contacts that I met. It was super scary, because I was like, I want them to take me seriously. What if it doesn't happen?
Yeah.
But I have to say that was the best thing for me, because when there's other people counting on you, there's that accountability. Because working as like a startup designer, it's super lonely.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're doing half the time, and you're trying to figure it out. But when you have people that are counting on asking you about updates and how's it going, that's super motivating. And so I really think that's the biggest reason why I kept pushing forward with Untucked this whole year, is that people kept asking me about it.
So you had all these like accountability partners who were like your friends and your family and everybody. You were like, I'm just going to tell everybody I come in contact with that I'm doing this, and then like I have to keep moving forward instead of like keeping it a secret because you're so nervous to tell anybody.
And that was the biggest hurdle for me, literally myself. Because I was like, oh, working on this at night, like, you know, I would like go work in my full-time job and come back and I'd be working on it. And I felt a little embarrassed how much time I was putting into this.
Yeah.
You know, I was like calling up vendors and asking about, you know, learning more about sustainable fabrics and just putting in all these hours. And then eventually I reached a point where I was like, I need to just bite the bullet and I need to tell people what I'm working on because it needs to become a realization. I can't just put in all these hours and money. I was also putting in money to develop prototypes, and I was like, I need to bring this to the world.
Okay, so you're spreading the word, even though you don't really have anything yet. You're spreading the word about your idea. And in the meantime, you're working on getting prototypes and samples developed. And like, how are you going about that whole process? Like, how did you find all those contacts and all the factories and all the places that you wanted to work?
It was, I felt like Sherlock Holmes. It was a bit of an investigation to do all of that. And LA is one of the biggest, is the biggest manufacturing hub in the US. And the fashion industry is extremely daunting to tap into. Because you know, you want to make the right connections. There's so many factories out here, but I wanted to work with a factory that I could stand proudly behind, and I knew the workers, and I had no idea where to start. Shannon was really helpful, providing initial contacts and basically being like, hey, here's how you go about like reaching out to factories. And so I kind of, you know, I started just, you know, just talking to people and reaching out and telling them what I was doing, and people started opening doors to me. I ended up I met these guys in San Diego who were making some really cool men's backpacks from like a durable duck canvas. And I knew that Untucked I wanted to be a sustainable brand because I wanted my pieces to last. And so I have always gravitated more towards menswear because I just love how it's constructed. When I worked on Boardwalk Empire in New York, I was just fascinated by how the suits were handcrafted by some of the top tailors in the country. And so I knew I wanted to apply that type of construction to Untucked's garments. And so whenever I came across a brand that was really well made, I would talk to them and be like, where do you source your fabrics? Where do you get your materials? And I tend to end up talking to a lot of menswear companies.
Wait, so you would like find these brands and you're like, just go to their website, like you would find them in a store or whatever, and you go to their website and you would just reach out to them.
I'd reach out to them, or I'm like an event like fanatic. Like I'm always searching out like cool events and talk to people. I just like, if I also would do this, it was super, I probably was a weirdo, but I would like, if I saw someone with like a really cool pair of pants or a cool feature on their pants or a zipper, I would be like, hi, can I like take a picture of this? Like I'm a designer, like, and
add this to my inspo board.
And so a lot of people were like, yeah, sure. And it tended to be like men's pants that I was most fascinated with. They tended to have like cool features on their pants for movement. And I started just like collecting a lot of research. So this whole year was like collecting a lot of research and then taking that research, and I was like, I'm the kind of person I need to feel and touch and move something around. And so I need like an actual physical piece in front of me. So those guys that I was talking about in San Diego referred me to this pattern maker here in LA. And at the time I was biking to work. So I was like riding the bus to get to him, and I was like, I would be holding my patterns and my fabric and my laptop, and like at one time there was this like homeless man who like offered to hold my patterns for me on the bus because I was carrying so much stuff, and I was like, I do not feel like a glamorous designer at all.
I'm like schlepping around. You're probably like sweating.
Yeah. It's like, I was like, I don't feel like a designer, but that process of like, so I met with this pattern maker, showed him my designs. We sat down, and and I met, and his daughter was really helpful. She was the one that spoke English, so she was a translator between me and this pattern maker.
Okay.
So that the language barrier was kind of challenging. But But yeah, so through that process, I developed the first like 3 prototypes of, initially I was just gonna make a pair of trousers called flex trousers. I wanted
Which are the trousers you have right now?
Yeah, the trousers I have right now. So I was just gonna start out with one piece, and I wanted to be kind of a blend between like a work trouser, a pair of jeans, and like leggings. And something that you could bike to work in, but also like could look classy if you're gonna grab drinks with friends
I've seen them,
after.
they're really stinking cute.
Thanks. Yeah, they're really
cute.
comfortable, and your butt looks amazing in
Yeah,
them.
they look like super functional and like feel good, but like the right styling with the zippers and the crossover waistband.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in the fit, because fit to me is like I've got some curves. Like I really want a pair of pants that's gonna fit woman.
Yeah.
And that also costs money to keep making prototypes. But for me, I just don't want to make one prototype and be done with it. So it was 10 prototypes later that those
you did 10.
flex trousers came about. And so I started that process with this pattern maker.
Okay.
He was actually more skilled like in leather goods, but he got it started. And then I ended up moving on to another pattern maker called TEG. They're actually a fashion production house.
Okay.
A small fashion production house. They work with startup designers here in the Arts District in LA. And their pattern maker there, Gary, he's been working in fit, especially for pants, for like over 40 years. And I was like, I don't want to half-ass this.
This is the guy.
This is the guy. I was like, I have spent so much time just trying to get these pants developed, but the fit wasn't working. I was trying on a different woman, and it just wasn't quite fitting. So I was like, I'm gonna put up the money. Fit is really important to me. So we developed a better fit with these pants. He took my prototypes, really nailed the fit. And then so he created the patterns for that, and people started asking me, they're like, oh, are you going to develop any more pieces or for your photo shoot, what are you going to use for your photo shoot? You're just going to have the pants? And then I remember getting really inspired by an article back in 2013. It was by this art director in New York.
I read that.
Yes.
I read something about that. That gal that wears the same outfit to work every day.
Every
She's
day.
so cute.
So
it's
cute.
a white blouse with a little black.
Yeah, she was just on my Instagram.
tie.
I just featured her on my Instagram.
Okay, that's why I just saw it. I glanced at your Instagram today.
Yeah, and she has always been in the back of my mind, her story, and this idea for me too. Like as a creative, it's funny, we some people think that, we have to look cute every day, but we work so fast and so hard, and we're moving all the time, and we're taking on new projects, and that we don't have the mental space to literally like be selecting the cutest outfit every day. Like I want to look like a fashion blogger, but I can't. And so I'm like, how can I look smart, look cute, really look the part, but I don't have the mental brain space to do that. So when her article came out, that kind of stuck with me. And so when I was developing the flex trousers, I was like, what if I just made the perfect outfit for women on the go? And that really is what kind of sparked the next 2 pieces.
Okay.
I knew as a startup designer, I don't have the kind of money. I work as a freelancer. I have all these different gigs, and I don't know what my paycheck is going to be from month to month. So I was like, okay, what can I do with my budget? And so I was like, well, I'm just going to do 3 pieces and make the patterns for those. So the first 2 pieces patterns I finished with Gary from TEG. So he finished the samples for those, the pants and the everyday blouse. The everyday blouse. And then I ended up tapping the resources of a good friend of mine called Jillian, and her and I worked in the costume design world together. And she used to work at the Boston Ballet and for quite a few years. And so she's pretty well skilled with construction and designing for movement.
Okay.
And so I remember just chatting with her one time. We were just like sitting on the beach in Venice. And I was telling her about my project, and she was like, I really want to help. I was like, really? And I was like, well, I had this idea for this like really cool jacket that's like a cover up, but also like, it can like protect, your pieces underneath, but also it like looks really classy and has like a collar jacket. Because I've always loved Japanese designs and Japanese clothing. I like the billowiness of it. I like the structure of it. And so I was like, I want to do this kind of like Japanese inspired jacket. And she was like, all right, I want to give it a shot. And so we worked on that together. And I went over to her Venice apartment multiple times, just chatting about the design with her. And so we developed the pattern together for the pocketed smock that you see featured in my Kickstarter video.
Yeah. And
so this whole collection kind of came about, a very kind of cobbled together piecemeally throughout a whole year. And now, so then, obviously, like once you have your samples, then the next step is to find a manufacturer who can make it on a larger scale. And that was a challenge. I think we went to about 6 different factories, just talking to them, showing them my pieces, getting price quotes. But it wasn't just about price for me too. Yeah, I want to make affordable, sustainable clothing or pieces. I want to make affordable, sustainable designs. But I also care about the people that are making my clothes, and that's a big part of Untucked. Untucked's mission is to really be transparent about the manufacturing process, and I need to know. Like, I want to know how my clothes are made. Like, I'm just that kind of person.
Yeah.
And I really also want to just like educate. I want people to be like educated and really be brought into Untucked's world and the making of their clothes. I feel like we will have more appreciation for what we wear, and also how things are priced. I feel like if people are more involved in the process and the production process of how clothes are made, they'll understand the price point and why it's priced that way.
Well, I think there's a certain point that, like, I don't know how, I mean, I think you probably fall in the same category. I'm happy to buy an investment piece. Like, I don't want something that's, I'm going to wash it 3 times, it's going to fall apart. Like, I want something that, like, I'm going to love it, I'm going to love it. I'm going to love it for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So I totally get that. Yeah. And I'm happy to pay that price because I know it's going to last 20 times longer than something that's maybe half the cost. Okay, so 2 things I'm curious about. The sustainable thing, and you mentioned a lot, like the workers, and that's very important to you. And like, talk a little bit more about the sustainable thing on a bigger level, because what does that mean? It mean, like, are the fabrics sourced sustainably? Like, it means so many different things. So talk about that and like how you've molded that into your brand.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing up this conversation about sustainability, because I feel like it's a very abstract word that we're all throwing around, right?
Like,
it's like
really
sustainability.
Mean? Yeah.
What does it mean? Sustainability for Untucked and for me and how I view it is, one, like designing clothing, like what we talked about that last. Sustainable clothing that you can pass on from generation to generation. I still have pieces in my closet from my great-grandma.
That's amazing.
And I love them, and they're still so well made. This idea of passing on your clothing is sustainable to me.
Not disposable clothing.
Yes, not disposable clothing. Second is, the fabrics are very much an important part of the sustainable conversation. Right now, there's a lot of innovation that is happening in the sustainable textile world, but the resources are still limited as far as like sourcing. And what I want to do, the next steps for Untucked, is I've tried to source as consciously as I can with my fabrics. So my fabrics, I'm working with a Tencel, which is a pretty sustainable fabric on the market right now. I'm working with some cotton, and actually I think I'm going to be using an organic duck cotton for the pocketed smock. I've been looking at some samples the other day, and then I really just want to use very natural fabrics that biodegrade. And so that was an important part of like choosing the materials, and also not using chemical sprays. So one of the challenges that I'm dealing with right now is with Tencel, it does wrinkle. I could go and choose a wrinkle-free fabric, but there are so many chemicals that are sprayed on fabrics to make them wrinkle-free. And that's the next step that I want to take, and I'm actually speaking with a chemical engineer right now.
Wow.
So the next step for me is I would love to develop my own materials, and also jumping into the conversation of recycled material, like taking fabric, recycling it, and creating new textiles from it.
Okay.
So
are you talking about like scraps of fabric and sewing it together to make new garnish?
No, actually taking that fabric and working with some engineers,
to actually like remix
it and create a whole new fabric. So doing blends of like maybe like a recycled poly with like a Tencel.
Interesting.
So you can create this like wrinkle-free, sustainable
From
fabric.
the poly, right.
Yeah, and so a conversation I just had yesterday was about was actually downtown in LA at an innovation center. There is working on creating a fabric recycling manufacturing facility.
Wow.
And some of them are popping up throughout the country. There's one in New York, but there isn't one here in LA.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, and you think about all this clothing that is being shipped overseas. Goodwill ships hundreds and thousands of pounds of clothes overseas. And why aren't we keeping it here in the States, and why aren't we using it to revamp it and turn it into something new?
Yeah.
So right now my resources are limited, so I'm trying to, do the best I can on my Kickstarter budget.
Yes!
Thank you to everyone who's backing and supporting this. But I guess I'm just telling you the dream and the vision so that you kind of know where I want to take this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you went to like 5 manufacturers, and like, what were some of the challenges that you saw when you went there? Like, why was that so hard to find the right place for you?
Well, I mean, there's a trust factor too, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're taking a huge risk. You're handing over someone your patterns and your materials and
A big check.
and a lot of these manufacturers too, you're dealing with, they don't want to work with small designers, and so they have these bigger clients like Levi's, and you get bumped to the bottom of the production line, and so you can't really count on specific timelines. And also they don't put as much, some of them too, like you can just kind of tell when you walk in that you're a low priority, and you're like, are my pieces going to get,
like, is the quality going to be that great?
Is the quality going to be subpar? Are they going to really care on like how their, a seam is done here? Are they just going to like stitch right through and it's going to be like a cricket seam? Like, and also some of these places too, I could just tell that like they didn't want me. Like, I remember asking a place like, oh, can I wear your workers? And it was just kind of, I just felt
got a gut feeling.
uncomfortable. Like, oh, they probably don't want me to, like, they're in the manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
They might have nothing to hide, but it's just, it's, I don't know. I wanted to be really part of it, and they probably thought I was a little bit of a geek wanting to like be involved in the manufacturing process, because they're like, this is, they work with such big designers and big brands that they're pumping out volumes of stuff, and I'm just a small designer, and I'm also learning, and I don't think some of them have time to like really
hold
take
your
me
hand.
in. Yeah. So I ended up, this was like Providence. One of the fabric companies I'm sourcing for, Pacific Denim, downtown. I'm sourcing from them stretch twill for my flex trousers.
Yeah.
It's manufactured here in the U.S. And I ended up just, while I was waiting for my fabric to get cut, I saw a card of this guy named Alvaro, and I asked the owners, I was like, hey, what do you know of this guy? And it looks like he helps startup fashion designers. They're like, oh, he comes recommended by a lot of our customers. So I was like, oh, okay, like, I'll send him an email. So I sent him an email. He like responded to me like within the hour. And we ended up, our meeting place was at this grocery store in the south side of LA.
Kind of like what we're doing here, like this really random location.
Yeah, I walked in, I'm like carrying my samples in like a Trader Joe bag, and like, it's like, I was like, is this how other designers do it? But I walked into the grocery store, and we're like sitting at these tables, and I'm showing him my pieces, but the way he talked about my pieces, was analyzing them, was taking pictures of them. I knew this guy knew what he was talking about. He'd been working in the industry for about 20 plus years, and now he has gone freelance, and he sees the direction of fashion going, a lot more sustainable, a lot more startup designers, and so he's trying to cater to us. And so he kind of broke away from working with these bigger brands to start his own company. So him and I both are kind of in this entrepreneurial mindset. So we thought, well, why don't we give this a shot? And he was like, I'm willing to work with you. He's like, because I'm just starting out. I'm gonna cut you some deals here. He invited me to go to his factory and see it. It's a smaller factory in Vernon.
Okay, so he actually has his own factory.
No, he actually works at the factory.
Oh, okay.
He works at this factory. He's really because he's, which is why it was a blessing to work with him, because since he's worked in the industry for 20 plus years, he knows so many people. He also speaks Spanish, which is kind of an important tool to have here in LA. And so he was good friends with this factory owner. He invited me to come. I showed the factory owner my pieces. We made some adjustments to the patterns, and then he also has friends who insert zippers and do the snaps. And the thing about the fashion industry in LA is that everything's very fragmented. So
you have to piecemeal it all.
You have to piecemeal it all together. Unlike, which is unfortunate about American Apparel, they were a vertical factory, right? And everything was under one roof. And I would love, and there's some other factories like Reformation that is doing that as well, which I would love to be that kind of factory someday. So Alvaro helped me piece together my whole production chain, and has been teaching me and guiding me throughout the whole process. And so he opened up the factory to me to get familiar with it. I ended up filming my Kickstarter video there, and they were so supportive of it. And just getting to talk with the garment workers, and I feel like because they know me and we have a personal conversation, Alvaro and his factory really cares about Untucked, and they care about the pieces that are going to come out. And so I do feel confident that my pieces aren't just going to get a haphazard type of job. They're really going to be cared for.
So you took your time and you were really going with your gut and working with people that you really could build relationships with, and you felt had maybe not equally, no one's going to care about your brand as much as you do, but they had some vested interest. They really cared about you and your product and what you're doing. Okay, so can we talk about the Kickstarter?
Yeah.
Okay, so where in the process is this all happening? You thought of these 3 products, and now you're you got some samples and prototypes made, you found your manufacturer, and you're like, okay, we made some changes, and so where are we in the timeline?
Yeah, so everything kind of comes together last minute. Here's the thing about Kickstarter is that, there's tons and tons of blogs and tutorials. I'm like, you need to do it, you need to do your Kickstarter here, and this is the best way to do it. And so I was just overwhelmed by everyone who's done Kickstarters in the past and all the advice that was coming to me. But again, back to Factory 45, that fashion accelerator I was part of, she launched a super successful Kickstarter as well.
Okay.
And she was a great mentor as far as hey, these are kind of the best timelines to launch. And I know for me that I needed to launch in the spring before the summer. And so leading up to that launch, I'm just gonna back up. I wanted to kind of create momentum again for the actual Kickstarter launch.
Okay.
And to kind of show a physical presence of Untucked, I did a soft launch back in the fall, October 2016. I partnered up with an awesome bike shop / coffee shop called The Wheelhouse. My friends Tammy and Chase own it down in the Arts District. And so during Innovation Week LA, I did an event called, it was all about fashioning the future of urban living. And it was all about creating conversations around what does it mean to live in the city and how are we improving our city. So I facilitated a whole panel of different women change makers around LA, and that was when I introduced Untucked to a live audience. And I just had my prototypes then, and nothing was ready. But I announced to them that I was going to be launching my Kickstarter, and if they want to join on that journey. So that's when, I had my prototypes then, and I believe, so from there to about January, February, then I was kind of finalizing my samples, but I didn't finalize my samples until 2 days before I filmed my Kickstarter video. I was over my model, Rebecca. I made samples specifically for her size, and we were trying it on at her house 2 days before we went to shoot, because you got to work around the timelines of your factories. And so once I locked down those samples, we shot our Kickstarter we shot the video and the photography at the same time.
Okay.
To just save on budget. No, we actually shot it in March.
Okay.
We're in a really tight timeline, because also I'm working with friends who were back front, because I went to film school, so I had some friends who were cinematographers and photographers, but they also have a bunch of gigs. So it was a beast trying to coordinate everything. And then my model, she's not a professional model, she also has a full-time job. So I was like, and then I have all my gigs. Yeah, because I know I have like flower gigs here, and I'm like, all right. So basically I was coordinating everything. We kept pushing it later and later and later, and I was like, finally we have to film this Kickstarter video. Shot it in March, and we locked down everything in April, and then I launched the Kickstarter May 2nd.
Okay, which is 15 days ago
15
from today.
days ago, yes. Launched it May 2nd, and that night I did a live launch party. I mean, now
Wait, what does that even mean? Like in person?
In person, I did like a live, like an actual live event.
And so where'd you like get the people to come? Just friends and family?
You know what? Here's the thing
is,
I just love in person. I love meeting people face to face.
Yeah.
Like I like to talk to people. I like the conversations that come about from just in-person events. And so obviously I launched Kickstarter online digitally, like on all different social platforms, and my
that was
email
some
list.
of the people that you had built.
My email list that I've been building.
First started talking about your idea over a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's when that
email
really
list I was building.
That was a good value.
Yeah, it was huge. And the thing is too, I was talking to my friend the other day, and what was helpful about building that momentum over the past years, a lot of times when people launch a product, they have to like explain what it is, and it's like, oh, this is what I'm doing. As soon as I launched it, people were like sending out their own emails, and I had crafted a few kind of sample tweets or sample like Instagram posts. I'm like, here's some copy you can use. People went off script because they knew exactly what Untucked was. They knew who I was.
Because you'd been telling them about it for a year and a half.
Yeah. So I didn't have to do anything. All of them were my ambassadors, and they all went out and talked about Untucked amongst their circles.
When your Kickstarter launched?
As soon as my Kickstarter launched.
People were just screaming about it.
It was everywhere.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And I was overwhelmed because I was like, the comments that people were leaving and the things that people were sharing. I had this friend, she's a film producer, and she like crafted this amazing email and sent it out to her entire network, and I didn't even give her the copy or script for it. She just like wrote it from her heart, and people just like, I think people felt really excited to be part of that journey. I have another friend who he is a professor in business over at Pepperdine.
Okay.
And I found out that he's been showing my emails that I send every month as examples to his students.
Gosh, that's amazing.
I was like, oh wow.
Wait,
really
so what are you
flattered.
putting in these emails? Yeah, so okay, wait, so let's talk about that, because I'm really big on email marketing and promotion, and so you have this email list that you're building for a year and a half or so. Like, what are you talking about this whole time? Are you just telling stories about what you're doing and where you are?
Yeah, I didn't want to, the email inbox is such like a fragile, special space. And it's my biggest fear to like bombard people. Like, I don't want to intrude. So I really wanted to create emails that wasn't just about, oh, here's my products, here's what I'm working on. I also stepped back a bit and was like, what is Untucked about? It's about like empowering, the woman who is taking a different work path, who is working as a freelancer, a coworker, women who are doing really cool things, and celebrating that. And so I started a series called Untucked Women, where I'm highlighting a really cool woman who is really transforming her city or wherever her workplace, and making an impact. And so in my emails, I would highlight a cool Untucked woman and do an interview with her and invite, and so that other people saw that Untucked wasn't just about me, it was about this movement of women, and highlighting these women who are taking a more unconventional approach to their working style. And also women who don't necessarily, commute to work by car, but women, like, what are the stories from the subways and the buses and bike to work commuters? Like, I want to hear those stories.
Like that girl on the bus with her patterns and like the homeless guy offering to help carry them.
We have such rich stories, and I just want to tap into like the women that I wanted to be part of my community of Untucked, and so I was inviting them in. on the journey as well. So that was some of the content that I was sharing in my emails. Obviously, I was sharing updates about like, hey, here's some of the fabrics I'm sourcing. What do you think? The Instagram has been amazing, just like being able to connect with people daily. So it was a little bit of like bringing people into the design process, but also bringing people into like the community aspect of Untucked. Because for me, like Untucked is really about like community and bringing, you know, women together, and I wanted that to shine in the emails.
And so you spent like this 1.5 years building this community, and then when you were ready to like say, okay, here's my thing, I did this, here's my thing. You had that community built in, but you know, so it didn't just happen like magic.
No,
like
it was a lot. It was a lot of work.
All this time, like building this huge foundation.
Yeah, and just going to a lot of events and supporting other women, like, and frankly, I learned so much too. Like, I was like, who is my target market? Who am I trying to reach? And going to events and talking to women helped me develop my target market, helped me develop who was the woman I was trying to reach. And because I just can't sit in my room and like sketch up ideas all day. Like I need to go out into the field.
Not be in your vacuum, as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, and you know what's cool about having these live events is that being an entrepreneur is really lonely, and you don't know if you're hitting the mark, and you don't know if anyone is even thinking about you. But when you have these live events and all these people come out of the woodwork to celebrate you, it just makes it so much more real.
Yeah.
So like at my launch party, like I had over 100 people come.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
And like so many of them, like I didn't even know. They were like people who brought friends and like, and yeah, obviously a ton of friends came out to support. And it was like on a Tuesday night in LA, like on a school night. Like, and I was floored. I was just kind of standing back, and I was just so grateful to be surrounded by these people.
Still really fresh. I mean, that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. I know. I know, and the space was and again, like everything leads back to what I want Untucked to be. And so I had the event at this awesome distillery in the Arts District. It's owned by this husband and wife. It was the first distillery since Prohibition, and they are all about community and all about craftsmanship. And the co-owner, one of the women, Liddy is one of the co-owners. Like she's all about celebrating female entrepreneurs, and that's what I wanted. Like I want anything that Untucked touches or is a part of. Like I want it to all tie in with the brand and what I want it to be. And because at the end of the day, it's not just about me. Like so many other people make up the brand.
So did the Kickstarter really just grow organically from like that and all those people spreading the word? It just happened. Yeah,
and it was like such a huge sense of relief, because as soon as the Kickstarter launched, like I had all these flower design gigs, and I didn't have a ton of time to be like shouting it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
So like I had friends like every single day they were sending me screenshots of my Kickstarter. Like I would be on a job and I couldn't even check, my Kickstarter.
Like check your phone.
So they're sending me screenshots, and they're like, you reached this milestone today, you reached this.
That's
so
amazing.
People were pushing it out for me, and I was like, and that was really nice to have like my own built-in like marketing team.
Totally.
And then also I also did a lot of reach out to different Instagrammers and bloggers and some influencers, news sources that I wanted to be a part of. And I think, for me, since I am small, I knew it was probably hard to get into like some of these big, like, I don't know, LA Times or Vogue or anything like that. So I was like, well, maybe I just target places that I really want, I think could have a cool audience that would resonate with Untucked.
That aligns with your brand.
Yeah, and I'm in a women's entrepreneurial group in downtown LA. We meet every month called Mentor Mondays, and these women come from all different backgrounds. And just through my different circles, I meet different journalists, and I'm so shy sometimes when I approach them, because I don't know if, I know they get bombarded by people making requests from them. So I was just like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Is this a story you'd want to share? I put together a whole press packet with all my photos. Having really, really good photography was important to me, because I know journalists are looking for stories, but also stories with really good photography.
Because photos, like the first visual that sells.
Yeah. And so I made sure that I had a really nice press kit before I start reaching out to journalists.
And you just like flat out like would ask them like, hey, here's what I'm doing. Are you interested in doing a story?
Yeah.
It was it. That was just
I was
straight up.
pretty clear about like, this is what I'm doing. Here's my high-res photos.
Yeah.
And I'd follow up with them. I still have to keep doing that. I have 2 weeks left.
Did you get some success from
like
that
Cool
outreach?
Hunting, which is one of the like the top product review sites. They did an exclusive feature on Untucked the morning I launched.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it was all about like the commuter aspect of the brand. So that was cool.
Yeah.
And I, reaching out to different bloggers. I have a feature coming out with Fairly Magazine next week. Again, I got that just through a gal who is a friend of my friend, and she just like resonated with Untucked, and she's like, she's a journalist and a writer, and she's like, I just love what you're doing. I'm submitting your story to all these different people. So like the day after my launch, she like sent me all these questions, and she was like doing the work for me.
That's amazing.
And was reaching out to magazines on my behalf.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow. And then you also, I noticed this morning when I checked your Kickstarter, you got featured, like Kickstarter featured you as one of the favorite. I forget what they call it. A favorite Kickstarter.
Yeah, one of their favorite projects.
Yeah.
Which is,
how'd you get that?
I think like the more people that come to your site, the algorithms on Kickstarter, I really actually don't know them. I don't know how you get featured as a favorite Kickstarter project, but I think when you get such a fast amount of backers in a short amount of time, and so much traction, that definitely gets on their radar.
Sure.
And yeah, they tend to notice you. And also, I'm telling you, Shannon Whitehead with Factory 45 has been amazing because she's built so many connections with Kickstarter.
Okay.
And so we also, she reached out on my behalf to Kickstarter, was like, hey, here's one of my alumni, and they noticed me. But the thing about Kickstarter too is like, before even launching Kickstarter, I did a hell of a lot of research on like what makes a really good project and what they're looking for. How do they go about picking favorite projects? And so, I tried to orient myself in such a way that Kickstarter would like me.
Like how though? Because your product is already what your product is, and so you can only mold it so much to be. Well, what is Kickstarter like? I mean, how did you bend it that way?
With the video, take the video for example, like. Kickstarter really favors very product-heavy photos as opposed to like the story aspect. But I knew the story was also super important for Untucked. I wanted people to know my history so that I had a little more clout with the product. But I needed to really feature the pieces, but I didn't want to do it like in a campy sort of way and like a salesy type of way. So I made my Kickstarter video pretty product-heavy. I also brought on a designer to create like really beautiful artwork that was very clear. And I spent so much time in my sizing charts and just giving a lot of detail for backers, so that when they go to back my project, there's a lot there that they can learn more about the company. And so the more content I had, a Kickstarter definitely favors projects like that.
Okay, and like being really clear about your product and your
like
offer
the timeline,
and exactly everything that's happening.
Yeah, like sizing charts, like I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Oh, I remember, I think I saw you have like a little, like you built like a little graphic that was like an infographic. It was a small one, but a little infographic to kind of show the timeline of like when the Kickstarter's happening, when the production's happening, when you're going to get your product.
You just want to know that you're serious.
Right. So instead of just typing out the dates, you like put together a little graphic.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person, and also Kickstarter. I just want it. Again, like I just like really beautiful things, whether it's like a Kickstarter graphic or my video or my clothing pieces.
It has to be beautiful.
I want it to be people to really like soak it in. I want them to really understand, because at the same time, like a lot of people don't understand clothing construction. Like they don't understand that it does take a while for pieces to get made, especially in the startup phases. So I really want to educate people on that as well. It's more than just like buy my pieces. Like I want to bring them into my production process.
Yeah, into the journey. Okay, so your Kickstarter has still like 2 weeks to go, and you've done like 12,000 and your goal was 10?
Almost to 12,000.
Yeah. When I checked this morning, it was like 11.
Yeah.
High
Like,
11s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
So you still have like 2 weeks to go.
I have to check my Kickstarter today. I haven't checked it.
I love that like we're like chatting like right during this like peak moment. It's so exhilarating.
Yeah. I know, it's really addicting.
It is. Are you like totally chimping like refresh?
I
like,
was for a while. Like,
unhealthy.
on the first day, I was like obsessed about it, but I was planning a party, so I like had to tear myself away from the computer.
I feel like it's almost good to plan something else that's going to pull you away from this other thing that you can like be super OCD on. I know that's how I can get. And it's like I feel disgusted with myself about how OCD I'm being.
Checking my Instagram as soon as I post, I'm like, how many likes did I get within 5 minutes?
Comments? Okay, so you still have 2 weeks left, and then what's like the timeline? Like,
so
the next,
actually,
like,
literally,
few months, what's happening?
Right before our meeting here, I just sent out an email to all my backers and also to the Untucked community.
I'm like giddy. I can't wait to hear what the email said.
So I'm kind of changing the conversation a little bit, and here's why is Untucked is more than just about making beautiful pieces of clothes. Yes, I would love to continue, building upon the brand and making like a whole perfect working wardrobe. But I also want to create a movement that's specifically here in LA that's going to transform and improve the fashion industry, especially the manufacturing industry here in LA. And so I've been talking, literally over the past year, I've been meeting with engineers and makers and manufacturers and city officials on what is it going to take to transform the fashion industry in LA. Like, how can I go about building a vertical factory? How can I go about building this fabric recycling manufacturing facility? And so my email that I sent out today, I just created 3 new additional rewards on my Kickstarter page.
Oh, okay.
At higher price points. So
campaign.
Yeah, mid-campaign. Yeah, because, some people may not want to buy my pieces, and maybe some people already bought my pieces, but they want to do more. And then other people don't need my pieces, frankly. If you don't need them, like, don't get them.
Yeah.
And but they like the vision of Untucked and they want to do more. So I'm offering 3 different packages now. One is this, the lowest tier. So I'm starting at $250 for this new package, and this ties in with my love of design and styling. But I'm creating a sustainable sustainable fashion lookbook, and offering like a sustainable styling session, which can be through Skype or in person. And so it's kind of like Stitch Fix, where people are Stitch Fix, talks with you and they go and shop for you.
Right.
But I'm doing it for people who want to dress consciously and sustainably, and it can be overwhelming to figure out what brands do I look for. Here's my budget. What fits within my budget. So I wanted to offer a sustainable styling package. So this is going to be for guys and girls, and I really just want to meet with them and talk to them about their wardrobe and how we can improve it, and if there are any specific brands that I can help assemble, basically a shopping guide, a cheat sheet for them, so that if they're like, hey, like, I really want to revamp my work wardrobe, what brands could you recommend? And I will go out and I will do all the online shopping for them and assemble an entire style guide for them where they can actually go and purchase their pieces. So I don't know, I thought it was kind of fun because I love styling.
Yeah, where'd you get this idea to first of all, to offer different tiers mid-campaign, and then to do this whole styling thing? I mean, is that kind of in your blood? And then you
I actually starting mid-campaign, it's kind of been let me finish the rest of my packages and I'll tell you. So it's okay. So the $250, so that's like the styling. It's kind of, getting people to shop more sustainably, but also me reaching out and helping them with that. The next tier is $600, and I want to bring people to my manufacturing facilities, to my factory.
Oh, wow.
And I want to offer them a tour. I want to, take them out to lunch. I want to bring them into the production process and tell them about it.
Full experience.
Yeah, like come for a day. Let me show you what Untucked is about. Let me take you to the factory, meet some of my production partners, and take them into the day in the life of Untucked getting made.
How cool.
So that's at $600. And then the last tier is $1,200. And so I'm calling this the Untucked Confident. And so these are people who really want to play an active role in helping to transform the fashion industry here in LA. And so I want to take them out to dinner. I want to bring in some of the partners that I've been reaching out to and have a conversation with them on here's what Untucked wants to do. Here's our plans. Here's the landscape of the fashion industry in LA. And then again, I want to take them to my factory and really get them involved in the process. And obviously they get a piece from my collection, so they can be an ambassador as well. And but I want them to feel part of making a change in the fashion industry, and because I can't do it without them. And so these 3 additional packages or 3 additional rewards came about when I was talking to people, and they're like, "Hey, I love what you're doing, but I'm a guy, and
trousers are amazing, but they're not quite for me. I know they're very menswear inspired in some elements,
but and also people who maybe already purchased a piece but they want to do more, and they've told me that, and I'm like, well, okay, well, what's something specific that I can do? And so these funds are then going to go back into the company and having me be able to reach out and have more conversations with engineers and be able to develop these more sustainable fabrics and work on that fabric recycling facility. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I wanted to kind of bring people, I wanted to tell people about Untucked that was beyond just the product. It was more about like the vision and the mission behind it and where I want to take it.
Yeah. So you heard that from your audience, and you're like, wait, they're asking me for something that I'm not giving them right now, and so you just listened to them and you did it.
Yeah, just making a little pivot.
Yeah.
It's been a kind of a frantic, let me
type up these new tiers today and see what I can offer.
I think it's so exciting to go to the factory and I wish more people could see this.
No, it is absolutely exciting. I had the opportunity to go overseas 3 years ago. And visit factories overseas, and it was phenomenal. And it was like I've not been to factories stateside. My experience is not in stateside manufacturing, but it's an experience. People want to go and see what does this actually look like. How does this actually work, and see the people and meet the people that are doing it and behind the scenes.
And the cool thing too is I am all about connecting with engineers and scientists and teachers because everyone has an interesting point of view and perspective. And sometimes if you get too kind of stuck in the fashion world, everyone's been doing things a certain way, but as soon as you expand your world and you invite people from different industries, it's amazing what you can learn and connect the dots, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about that, and what about this, and you can learn things from other industries.
Well, and it was interesting because you mentioned earlier you did that, it wasn't your live kickoff event, but you did the event at the bike shop.
Launch, yeah,
and I was like, that's really smart. You didn't go to a boutique.
No,
you went to a complimentary place where people who would potentially buy your product could also be hanging out, but it wasn't the expected location.
Here's the thing is, I'm just taking this whole fashion design thing super off the grid, and I'm not doing it the way and sometimes I feel a little silly. I'm like, oh, this isn't how other people are doing it.
Doesn't even make sense, but
but I guess at this event too, it was cool because I had a nice blend of men and women, people from all different industries, and for me, Untucked, I want to help change the city. I want to improve urban living.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to create an event around that. And it was cool, on my panel, I had LA just installed a bunch of bike shares around the city.
Yeah.
So Rabina Gazarian, who spearheaded that whole effort, she was on my panel, was talking about bicycle transportation, how the city is trying to improve that. And so it was awesome to have her on the panel talk with Bike Metro. And then I had Audrey Bellis, who is working with Mayor Garcetti to help build up startup culture, especially for female entrepreneurs. And she runs an awesome organization called Worthy Women to help women feel empowered.
Yeah.
And so, I just like this idea of bringing in all these cool,
it doesn't have to be all fashion people.
No, and I personally, I don't know, I don't really click very well with the fashion world. I'm I want to do things different.
Yeah.
And even at my launch party, I was actually really nervous about doing this, but I brought in my rolling rack. and I put in all 10 of my prototypes of my flex trousers on it. All my prototypes.
Oh my God, so you could see the evolution.
So people could see the evolution, but I was so embarrassed of like my first 3 because I was like, oh, these are terrible. Like,
Oh,
I
but
don't want
no, I
anyone
love that
seeing them.
idea.
So, but it was funny because it wasn't funny, but I was nervous in the beginning. You know, I didn't have a chance to preface like, hey, this is the evolution, this is the history.
So people are thinking
Untucked.
like, oh, is this the
Yeah,
pant?
so people were like pulling it up, and I like kept racing to the other side of the room to be like, wait, let me explain.
Yeah.
But then when I talked during my event, I was telling people, I was like, you know, not a lot of designers do this because it's really scary to show the initial designs.
First protos are
I felt
very
like a
scary.
terrible designer
Yeah.
in the beginning. I was like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But I think bringing people into the history of the making of your product is important because they really appreciate like where you come from step A to step Z.
I love that you did that. I think that's phenomenal. I've seen more than a handful of first protos that are scary.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that all lined up together.
There was still like lint and dust on the first one because I had it shoved in the back of my closet.
Oh my
I didn't
gosh.
want anyone to see it.
And were they in available fabric or like were they like a random
It was a
color?
terrible. No, it was in black.
They
It
happened
was
to be
like
black.
this
Okay.
terrible, like heavy, awful fabric.
Oh, because I've seen some stuff come in like wacky colors just because it's like, okay, it's like really similar fabric.
Yeah.
And so we're just like going for fit and construction.
Yeah.
Okay, so your Kickstarter's closing in like a couple weeks, and then like I know you have this whole bigger vision to change the fashion industry here.
But what's next as far as production?
Yeah, like what's next for like far as like the next 3 to 6 months for the product?
So I am working with another pattern maker right now. I know.
Wait, what's
I know.
happening? I thought it was like ready and done.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing: is like once I've been making different samples and trying them on all different types of women, tall women.
Not your quote unquote fit model.
No,
yeah,
I'm
like
trying them on real women, all different sizes, all different shapes. And heights, and I've been getting a lot of feedback. And this has been post-launch, so I've been scrambling the past 2 weeks. And people have been offering suggestions. Obviously, I'm taking them with a grain of salt.
Sure,
but
you can't fit everybody.
Yeah, so I ended up getting introduced to this pattern maker, and she is amazing. And she is helping me make just like really subtle tweaks here and there before I go into production. So she's going to finalize all my samples. And then I'm starting to, I'll probably place an order for my fabrics in early June and for all my materials, and then submit the order end of June to my factory, and then go into production July to August. And then I'm gonna have like a packaging party, because I love parties, in like probably end of August, September, and then start shipping stuff between September and October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How exciting.
Yeah.
And is your plan to do mostly direct to consumer, or what are you looking at as far as distribution?
Yeah, direct to consumer. So I'm doing everything, especially in these startup phases. You know, I'm kind of bootstrapping, but I really want to have control over the quality of everything.
Yeah.
And also I want to keep the price attainable. There's so many brands out there that I love, but I just can't afford.
I know.
And so
there's so many people in line to like take a little bit of the money.
Yeah. Yeah, and
hard.
also, like even like the fabrics I was choosing, it's like, what is the best type of fabric I can choose, but also within the price range that my customers can afford. So I tried to keep everything under $200.
Yeah. And
so like my flex trousers are $110, my everyday blouse is $85, and my pocketed smock is $135, I believe.
It's really reasonable.
And they're all really well made, really well made.
$110 for a pair of pants that are like gonna last you forever. Yeah. I mean, that is a phenomenal price.
And this is probably Kickstarter price. I might have to bump it up once I get onto my e-commerce site. So I'm actually building that site right now.
Okay.
So that's gonna, after my Kickstarter ends, then I'll actually launch my shop.
And are you gonna pre-sell?
And I'll probably keep taking orders and keep submitting them. Yeah. So and that's kind of where. Oh yeah, so I'm gonna do everything e-commerce right now. Yeah. Then I'm also looking into really cool packaging too. I don't want to spend an arm and a leg, but you know, the packaging, since I don't have a brick and mortar, the packaging is the first thing that customers see and learn about your brand and know you. So I wanted to spend some time and some thought developing the packaging so that when Untucked arrives at your doorstep,
it's a special experience.
Yeah, it's a special occasion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so exciting to like get that box and you open it up and it's like, oh my gosh, there's like this little something. Who knows what it's gonna be?
Yeah, it's like my little brick and mortar, but in a box, and it's coming to their doorstep.
Yeah.
And I want them to like have a little dance party as they open it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how much attention to detail you put into every little thing, and I'm especially super impressed with how much you have, and I say this in a very loving way because I am also this way, but OCD tweaked over the fit.
Yes.
Because I teach people how to do tech packs, and it's very scary when I hear how many people want to do their own graded specs and make their own patterns, and I'm like, no, this is the one place that you really should pay the money and hire an expert to do this. Like, you can't afford to sacrifice the fit. That's going to make or break your product. I mean, there's a lot of other things.
Yeah.
But that's like such a big one. So it's
especially pants.
amazing.
Pants are like, no one's making pants because they're a beast to me.
Yeah.
Makes me nervous. Like, because, here's the thing is, like, I've done as much as I can as far as a fit, tried on different women, but you have to put your product out there, and I'm sure there's going to be some unhappy customers.
You can't fit everybody, though. I mean, you just can't.
Yeah, but I also have put my email out there. I'm really trying to, I had a lady email me this morning. I have to email her back, but asking about the fit of the pants, and she like basically described her sizing, and here's my body shape and everything. So I really would just want to kind of handhold my customers if they have any questions about fit, because like once I learn more about their bodies and their shapes, I can do a better job at pointing them in the right direction of like sizing and what I can and cannot offer them.
Sure. Yeah, so you're super engaged with your audience, which is really important.
Yeah, people are asking me questions at Instagram, Facebook. I love it because then I can when I'm on the go, I can like quickly answer them.
Just reply. Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the question I wrap up with for everybody, and it stumps a lot of people, so if you need a second, you can think about it. But what is one thing that people never ask you about working in fashion that you wish they would ask you about working in fashion?
They never ask me about.
So I'll give you like the different way to think about it. Like, what do you love talking about your brand, but that other people never really ask you about? Like, they always ask you about this thing, and you're like, but I want to talk about this part of it.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know if I really want to talk about it, but it's a crucial part of Untucked is how do you fund it? Like, what are you doing behind the scenes, really? And it can look so cool from Instagram. It's like, oh, you're a designer and everything. But I wish more designers were honest about how they're funding.
So do you want to talk about that for a minute? Are you willing to?
Yeah, I'm willing to talk about it because it's kind of key, and it's been a hustle this last year, and funding it. I left a full-time job. It was super scary because the thing about starting a clothing company, is it is a full-time job. And so you're trying to put all your effort into it, but you're not getting paid for it. And everyone's like, oh, it's amazing, your Kickstarter's at $10,000, but like, I'm not gonna take any of that money. It's all going into production.
And what about all the money that you spent over the last year and a half?
I've probably put in, I'm gonna be completely honest, probably about $30,000 into this company. And that's also like including my time. Hours and hours of
not
time.
paying for your time.
Not paying
That's
for
just
my
hard cash.
Like $30,000. So I probably put in about like $20,000 hard cash.
Okay.
And then like $10,000, probably more for my time.
I was gonna say,
a lot more for my time. But it's super embarrassing to like be honest about the numbers, because a lot of people are just like, wow, $10,000, but like they don't know how much money went into the initial startup.
Before that.
Yeah, how much time in the prototypes and hiring out people and the designers and hiring out your photographers and your videographers. But like for me to fund it, it's really, really exhausting. I'm so exhausted right now. And
that's like all your own cash that you've maybe had like some saved, or you've been like working to just put any money you can into it.
Yeah, it's a serious thing when you've like your savings are just like bleeding as you're like putting into something like a prototype that like went wonky, and you're like, oh, I just spent $500 on this. So I do such a random amount of jobs, and so I like work as a florist, and I also work as like do some like digital website consulting work, and then I also do like hand embroidery for like pop-up shops, and I also do some like styling work for commercials and just like
really random things.
Yeah. And I think the thing right now is like trying to own what my identity, and like I have to remind myself that first and foremost, I'm a designer and I'm an entrepreneur and I own a company. And I think because I live all these different, kind of this hybrid work life where I have to be a different person in different types of jobs, but I can kind of lose sight of that identity, and it can kind of be a little depressing when, you know, some people don't care that you're starting a flower company. They just need you to do the work, whatever it is that you're doing.
Right.
But yeah, I'm constantly trying to manufacture new ideas and come up with creative solutions to keep pushing Untucked, but that takes a lot of mental space. And so how I go about structuring my days, I've had to be a lot more disciplined with how I go about time blocking, and like, okay, Untucked gets this amount of time and this amount of time, and I'll plan out every week and be like, okay, I have to do this, and this, so I'm gonna do Untucked here, and here. And you know, I also work best in the mornings, so sometimes I'll get up extra early to work on Untucked because I might be working on a flower job all day and I'll just be completely drained at
by the time you come home.
I can't work creatively on Untucked. So I think, I don't know if that helps answer your question.
No, I actually think it's phenomenal because it's one of the things that, it's interesting, I feel like that's one of the biggest hurdles to get started. People are like, well, where do I get money? Do I do a Kickstarter from zero? Because like you said, you get this 10, 12, maybe 20 grand from this Kickstarter, but like there was a whole year and a half before that.
Yeah.
So where do you start at that zero, year and a half ago? Mm-hmm. And is it your own savings?
It's all self-funding.
It strapping it together? Is it asking for money from friends and family, which is a scary thing? Is it getting a loan?
I didn't. It was all self-funded. And it's like eating rice and beans all the time.
Like being
and
really
like
mindful about like where your dollars go.
A bike to work for a whole year to do that. That was crazy. I still think about that. But that was also like a huge research part of the process too. Like, what does it mean to be a woman on the go? Like, I lived
you were like living that life.
I lived it. And it's and met so many people through that. But it's kind of humbling. For sure.
I really appreciate you being like so transparent and sharing that, because it's such a real aspect of the space that I think sometimes people are awkward to ask or talk about it.
I want to know how these designers like are making it work. Like, I really do. Like, how did you just get that whole collection funded?
And you never know what's going on behind closed doors.
No. And also, like, how do you structure your schedules? Like, I'm always fascinated by productivity, and like, how do you work best? Like, how do you know what drains you, what fills your bucket? Like, because as creatives, like, we're always like this ebb and flow of like, I'm full of ideas, and then I'm like completely exhausted.
God, I don't have anything. I can't figure out anything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Colleen, this is amazing. I am so excited to chat with you. Okay, where can people find you?
People can find me, on Kickstarter right now. Untucked Workwear.
Okay.
Also, you can go to untuckedworkwear.com.
Sweet.
And I'm really active on Instagram.
Okay, great.
So my handle is Untucked Workwear. That's UNTUCKEDWORKWEAR.
Awesome.
And I'm on Facebook too at Untucked Workwear. And then Twitter is...
Are you tweeting?
I do tweet. I was a big Twitterer back in the day.
You were?
Yeah, so I'm at Hey Colleen.
Okay. H-E-Y, Colleen,
No, H-E-Y.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, that's what I meant. Whew, wow.
It's my Midwest accent. So, Hey Colleen.
Not like hay as in horses. I'm such an asshole.
So, it's H-E-Y-COLLEEN.
Okay.
And you can tweet at me. I'm pretty active on social media because I like to feel part of like a community of
What's
people. What's
going on the internet, yeah. Okay, I'll put links to all that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, thank you so much. This has been super fun.
Thanks for this chat. I had so much fun.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you for listening to episode 12 of the Successful Fashion Designer podcast. If you'd like to learn more about any of the resources mentioned in the episode, visit the show notes at sfdnetwork.com/12. And since you made it this far, you must have liked the episode. If you can take 60 seconds to leave a review on iTunes, it helps the show a lot and makes the podcast easier for people to discover. It's super easy to do, and I'd really appreciate it. Visit sfdnetwork.com/review to leave your rating. Thanks for your support and help.